Welcome to another episode of The Good Life. I'm here with Mark Sayre, Head of Policy Design from Haven Life. Welcome, Mark.
Thank you.
Before we get started, I've got a couple of things. I hope I say your name correctly.
Yes, that was
Brilliant. Sorry, I've been thinking about that on the train ride. But I did get it right.
Yes, you heard it correctly.
Awesome. And also, as we were just chatting about before, what does Head of Policy Design actually mean?
Yeah, that's a good question. Policy design is kind of a strange title for my department. So at Haven, we've been growing very rapidly. So every single year we've been kind of revisiting our org structure and thinking about where we are and what makes sense. About a year ago, we created this new team called Policy Design. And Policy Design brought together not just the underwriting technology, both algorithmic and manual, which is kind of a core piece of our tech product, but also brought in the actuarial function and the product filing function. So it was really about how do we create a product, both from a regulatory standpoint, pricing standpoint, but also delivery of that product technology-wise. And we called that Policy Design, and that's the team that I lead.
I guess it'd be like every team at Haven has grown quite significantly. That'd be one that's grown a bit, because I know even in the last kind of couple of months you've added new bodies into your team as well. Yeah,
absolutely. We're always growing, and in fact, for the first year of Policy Design, one of my functions was to oversee filing, regulatory filing.
Sure.
One recent change we made is we now have a legal team and a head of legal who's building out that team.
Yeah.
So we've since moved filing over to legal, but we continue to work very closely. So there will be countless other changes as we continue to grow, but Policy Design is still the name of the team for now. I like it.
Yeah, cool. So I guess there's probably people that have got lots of questions about Haven Life being a, relatively new insurance company. I know it's not strictly an insurance carrier, but it's been, around a while, but really starting to grow quite significantly. From your own perspective, you worked at MassMutual, but you moved to Haven, a few years ago. What made you make the change from a very large, well-established, reputable carrier to, a much smaller insurance agency? Still part of the same company, but it's obviously quite a big change.
Yeah, it was a big change. I think when I was at MassMutual, I had a very unique opportunity to work in a team that did corporate strategy.
Okay.
And one of my jobs in that team was to pull together an annual review for the board of directors that looked at what are the major trends that are happening in our industry, outside our industry, that are going to change the way our industry evolves over the next 5-10 years. So I had been already really thinking about this challenge of what is happening with life insurance distribution. How are millennials going to engage with this product? If we can get them to engage this product, and
because there's still a lot of under and uninsured in the US market, right?
Absolutely, there's still millions and millions of families that are underinsured, and we really felt that there was this huge opportunity, but that they weren't being served in the way that they were hoping to be served, and that the expectations about how they wanted to buy weren't being met.
Sure.
So
I like the way that you frame that, because you didn't say sell, you said how they want to buy, and that's, I think, conceptually quite different for a lot of any kind of B2C company, but especially large established companies like insurance carriers. They think about how to sell rather than how their customers should buy.
Absolutely. It's a big saying in the industry that life insurance is sold, not bought. I can tell you from our experience at Haven Life, that is not true. We engage with customers every single day who want this, want to protect their families. They know that this is the right thing to do. They have very clear expectations about how they want to buy, and we are really just meeting them where their expectations are. So I think we found that mantra to be false. So when MassMutual acquired this small group that was working on building out online insurance, I was very intrigued by the opportunity to work with this group because of that time spent thinking about how the buying process would change for the millennial customer. So when the opportunity arose, I jumped at it. My role at the very beginning was building out the algorithmic technology that allows us to make real-time decisions for customers. So we're kind of meeting that like in the now expectation that people have. So that was my role coming into Haven Life. As we've grown, my role has expanded somewhat, which has been very exciting.
So I guess tell me a little bit about the Haven journey. I know when you popped up to our office, you said it's quite exciting to be back in a WeWork place. And that's obviously where you guys first started off. So I guess, what are some of the biggest things that have transpired for you guys over the last few years, and I guess how are you feeling about the future over the next kind of 3 to 5 years?
Yeah, I think so. I think when we started out, when MassMutual made this acquisition, it was nobody knew if it was going to be successful. A lot of people really did think that the only way to engage with customers in life insurance was through an agent.
Sure.
That the education component was just too critical and people weren't able to do it on their own. So we had no clue if we were going to fail or succeed, and how. So when we started out, we were a very small group. We were in a WeWork here in New York. That happens to be where our CEO lives. So that's where we started. We found early on that there were a lot of challenges. This industry is not easy. It's highly regulated. It's highly risk adverse. So there were a lot of uphill battles that we had to fight early on. But we experimented with a lot of different things. Ultimately, we started to see our sales grow.
And you guys started to see your sales grow with not a lot of above-the-line marketing, right? A lot of it was kind of word of mouth. There was obviously a lot of talk in the industry about Haven, but I know that when I first met you guys probably 6 or 9 months ago, I even think then you guys weren't doing a lot of above-the-line marketing. Yeah,
we've been very intentional to take our marketing experiments very carefully, because this is the kind of industry where you can absolutely blow a ton of money on marketing with very little return. So we've been running very small-scale experiments and have found the ones that are successful. Early on, I would say probably our biggest play was just getting our story out there in the press. And we were very lucky earlier this year to get 2 Wall Street Journal articles about how we're changing the life insurance buying process, and that really got our name out there. So we've been very lucky. But our sales really started to take off as we got to be a nationwide carrier. Which is a big feat in its own right. Yeah. Because you've got to be individually registered or regulated in every state, correct? Yeah. So Haven Life is a life insurance agency. Sure. We are not a life insurance company. That's right. Our product is sold through MassMutual as the issuing company. So, it is a little bit easier to register as an agency, but you still have to be licensed in all 50 states. It's definitely a difficult process. Yeah. But we've really seen things grow very rapidly, and the conversation has now fundamentally changed where people at MassMutual are not saying, is this going to be successful? We don't know. People are saying, how can we take what we've learned, how can we take what we've built and bring it back to the way that MassMutual does business? So, although I've only been in the US insurance industry for a small amount of time, it seems as though Haven has really blazed a path for kind of the direct-to-consumer proposition. We've seen, a few other agencies and carriers come to market. Do you expect that we'll see more of that over the next 2 or 3 years? Absolutely. I mean, direct has been around for a long time, but it's always been done in a very different way than the way that we approach it at Haven and the type of customer that we've built our solution around. I think we find it very flattering that there are a lot of Haven-like websites popping up.
They are actually quite Haven-like. Yes, obviously I've gone and explored them all, but yeah, there is a similar theme to the way that the process is run for sure.
Yeah,
Yeah.
and to be honest, we think that's a good thing.
Sure.
We think that the more companies that are doing this, that are changing the way people buy this important product, is going to bring a completely different perspective to the industry and to the product. And we think that will, that will engage all of these families who today are just not engaging.
So aside from working with Montu, which is obviously one of the most exciting things for you guys to happen this year, I guess what are you really excited about? It doesn't even necessarily need to be something to do with Haven. I mean, what are you excited about, I guess, in insurance or with Haven over the next couple of years? Where do you see big changes happening?
That's tough. And also, I probably have to, run any ideas by my boss.
Sure.
Because
so you just say what you say. Yeah, that's fine.
No, I think some of the things that we're thinking about is we're always thinking about what's next. I think that we still have a lot of growth left to do in the life insurance space.
Mm-hmm.
But we are, of course, thinking as we build out this customer base, what other needs do these customers have, and what might they be looking for us to solve for them? So we are, actively exploring what those next products might be, whether they're insurance or not. Just different ways to meet our customers' needs. So I think there's a lot that's really exciting in that space that I look forward to working on. Also, I think, with respect to the partnership with Montu, I think one of the things that we've understood is this industry is about to start moving very quickly.
It is.
And we need to be positioned to be, doing well in that race. And these new tools like you're working to create will help us to be a lot more nimble as we are reacting to changes in the market. So.
Yeah, it's a really good point, and I don't mean that from a Montu perspective. I was talking to Drew Aldrich from Anthem Ventures about kind of core and legacy modernisation and transformation, and the hundreds of millions or billions that some of these large companies spend on running their policy administration system and other kind of complementary products and services is huge. And like from our perspective, and I think there's a lot of companies, not the same as ours, but like ours, they are developing these very specific point solutions to address really specific problems. We're going to see more and more of those, and how they end up integrating into wider systems is going to be, I guess, one of the challenges. I've come from fintech and financial services, and that's always one of the issues is how do you bring that into a spaghetti infrastructure and make it still work in the way that it's designed, but also fit in with the way that they've got their operating environment set up. It's a fun, interesting, and sometimes frightening challenge, I think.
Yeah.
Anyway, I think we'll cut it off there. So, Mark, thanks for coming in.
Thank you very much, Jeff.
Great to have you in, and thanks everyone for joining another episode of The Good Life.